For more on this, we are joined by the director at RIX Forensica, Riaan van Jaarsveld. Thank you so much for your time. Why is it that South Africa is the weakest link in this regard, and what does that say about the country's will to safeguard against occupational fraud?
Good evening, and thank you for having me on your program. Yes, as you rightly said, we are the leading in not something to be proud of, but in the sub-Saharan Africa with 123 cases reported. Now, if you look at the flip side of the 123 cases that has been reported, it means that at least there are cases reported, at least these cases are being reported, which is a positive. But on the other side, how many of these cases does not get reported? I think if you look at the news and all the commissions, it's very clear that, as the saying goes, crime pays. There's a lot of money one can make out of crime. But the main reason for the occupational fraud is also there's not a lot of compliance that is adhered to. There's a lack of government compliance. There's a lack of control issues. And all of these are factors that let people inside the organizations commit fraud. It takes quite some time to actually discover when fraud are occurring internally inside a company. It takes about 12 months a year before those cases has been discovered. I think this is quite concerning and definitely something that businesses must look into to make sure that they start to get more preventative than reactive.
It's absolutely a concerning picture, and also stated that corruption remains the dominant fraud risk in the country. At which scale, though, is it more prominent in South Africa, as we often hear more of state irregularities over corporate entities?
That is correct. I mean, if you look at corruption is definitely the leading factor here. But if you look at your occupational fraud, you also look at asset misappropriation. Now, you can divide that in two things. You can divide that into your cash element, where you create ghost employees, create a bulk bank account for that employee, refer it to your own account. A simple example of that, especially your smaller companies, they trust the accountant. When you create your fake employees, you refer the bank account to your own bank account. They just sign off the list that you send through to them, and payments happen, and the payment goes into the accountant's account. No one is checking that accountant. If you look at your non-cash assets, for an example, all your warehouses has pallets, these wooden pallets where they load their stock on. Now, these wooden pallets get back onto the truck and they leave with the truck. So there is also theft from the employment, and it's a lot of money that goes away there. Procurement fault is also a very big factor and a very high risk in our environments. Then you look at false vendors, you look at bid rigging, inflated invoices, supplier manipulation, and supplier collusion. What happens there is if there's a tender process, let's say in a smaller area, 5 suppliers tender for the same tender for the same tender. 3 of them decide that they're going to come in lower with the price. One is going to be much higher with the price, making sure that the other supplier will get a tender. He then subcontract to them, and they all benefit from the tender. You get your undisclosed conflict of interest. So corruption definitely very high in our country still, especially in your companies as well. But then also if you look at the procurement fraud where proper vetting is not being done and conducted, that is also a very high risk in our environment.
The key elements that you raised there around corruption is exactly what South Africa is hearing in the likes of the Madlanga Commission, and I'm interested in whether, in industry's view, is there will in this country where governance is concerned and due diligence is done thoroughly?
So, unfortunate not, and I think that is where the biggest issue and the biggest lack is. Those due diligence checks, all those things are left behind. I think if you look at the pace companies are operating these days, and quite a concerning example is also when someone do commit fraud in a company, let's say the financial manager created ghost employees, when he is caught, there's a lack of processing, there's disciplinary hearings, there's a lack of going through to the CCMA. We rather tell the guy, admit what you have done, please resign, and then that you just pass the problem on to another company. This is what we pick up in the investigations that we have conducted so far. But yeah, there's definitely a lack of due diligence. Companies are more concentrated on reactive investigation than to be proactive and prevent these cases from happening.
As a parting shot, how can governance then be proactive as opposed to reactionary, and accountability taken seriously where we actually see criminal cases being imposed?
I think very important, make sure that your vetting of your employees takes place, supplier due diligence, conflict of interest screening, and make preventive actions part of your culture of your company. Make sure you do your due diligence before you hire someone, before you enroll a supplier on your company portfolio. Make sure that there's enough checks and balances in place, and make sure that you don't trust a single person and let a single person do the same work, especially in your financial areas, without anyone checking the work that has been done. Segregation of duties is very important, one of your strongest internal controls. Ongoing monitoring and periodic re-vetting is very important. So just go back to the basics and just do the basics. Make sure you do proper due diligence on your own staff, your own employees, and especially on your suppliers that you get onto your panel.
Thank you so much for your input, Director at RIX Forensica, Rian van Jansveld, talking to us about the Association of Certified Fraud Examiners' latest occupational fraud report showing that South Africa has recorded the highest number of cases in sub-Saharan Africa.